Redditarian. Kindly subscribe and hit the bell button for more updates. What double standard disgusts you? The employee should give 2 weeks notice. Anything else is unprofessional. But the employer will actively obscure their intentions until the very last minute. I trained my replacement once, who had been introduced to me as my assistant, so obviously I wanted to teach them the job properly. I was in this scenario as the transitioned assistant, not knowing what was going to happen to the awesome woman who trained me. When I was able to quit the job, I walked in one morning and just left the keys on the desk. I was the only person who knew how to do multiple things, but fully felt they deserved nothing more. Right now in Canada, we are in strict lockdown, but a dozen of our politicians have been found vacationing around the globe. In other words, we can't bury grandma at a funeral, but these politicians can go work their tan. Thankfully, many of them have resigned in the last 2 weeks. In America, the politicians can barely get the words out of their mouth by the time they are breaking the rules. None of them ever resign either. Hell, in California, a city councilwoman literally voted to ban indoor dining and then immediately went out to eat following the vote. If you always arrive to work late, you're in big trouble. If work never finishes on time, shrug, no big deal. I offered to work extra hours in a salaried position to get the company over a hurdle if they'd do the honorable thing and comp me hour for hour for my trouble. Outright refused, because you're salaried, even though my giving up a few weekends would make a huge difference for their bottom line. So when they tried the extra hours mandatory free overtime thing later, I told them to piss up a robe. Business should do whatever it takes to get ahead, but if the employee tries to make their life better or find a new job, they are lazy and ungrateful. Recently on here there was a thread about employers hiding the pay for a posted position. Most people hated it as it was a waste of time to get to the point where they are willing to tell you the pay and it's an insulting amount. A few people were defending it. One guy said that it only makes sense for the employer to hide this from you and try to manipulate you about pay. From the employer's point of view, they need to pay you as little as possible, and if they post a salary, then people who want more than that will not apply. So no chance to underpay someone who is worth more, and they will have to deal with people who aren't good enough for that meager salary. So according to this guy, really, it's for the best that they try to screw you with hidden a salary for job postings. He's saying this as if we are supposed to just agree with it and not stand up for ourselves and just bend over and take it. But us demanding to know the salary during the first contact about a job. Unacceptable. How dare we try to interfere with the company trying to screw us? If you owe a company money, you will be charged interest/late fees/service interruption almost immediately after the due date. If a company owes you money, you might see it in 4 to 6 weeks/2-3 billing cycles. Just to add to this, you miss your bill to your internet/cable provider by a day and you pay fees out your ass. Your service goes down for a week. Oh well, you get jack shit. When I leave a job, I'm generally expected to give 2 weeks notice, so the company isn't left without essential things being done. When a company decides to let me go though, no warning to start putting in applications or saving more money. You're just gone. Total horseshit. Not in countries like Germany. It's harder for the company to get rid of you than you leaving. I wish I could spend one day talking to my mother the way she talks to me, sniping at her over every mistake, shouting her name from across the house, and expecting her to drop everything and come talk to me, dismissing anything she says that I don't agree with by just saying no with no actual argument, and expecting her to drop it. Edit. There are a lot of people replying to this by saying nobody else supports the way she acts, so this isn't a double standard. This is just abuse. There are also a lot of people replying by saying you must be a teenager and therefore automatically whining about nothing. There's nothing wrong with your mom's behavior, and quite a few more saying I'm an independent adult and my parents act the same way. Think about that. I posted this here because I don't consider it abuse or particularly unusual. It's more like the parental equivalent of microaggression, if that makes sense. We usually get along well, and the stuff I described is never enough for me to get upset over. But it's just sort of a subtle reminder that my mom, like a lot of parents of adult children, still sees me as slightly less than her, and never even thinks about the things she does that would piss her off if I did them. And for what it's worth, I'm 34, have a job, pay rent, and buy what I need myself. I'm only living with my parents now, at their encouragement, because I lost my previous job in March, wasn't sure at the time how long it would take to find a new one, and haven't wanted to go house hunting during a pandemic. Although for that matter, I never said I lived with them in the first place, and I would be surprised if mom suddenly changed how she acts around me when I visit her after moving out. A woman with her kids is taking care a man with his kids is babysitting. I went to the bank with my kids once, and I got hit with being Mr. Mom. I'm their primary caregiver. I get hit with that crap when I take my kids to the physician. I didn't bring a pacifier when my infant got a shot. He didn't need one anyway, and the nurse says don't worry, I won't tell your wife. I snapped back and said I'm the one who made the damn appointment. My dad got this bullshit a lot too. He was a single father. Rich people can abuse the system and no one bats an eyelid at large companies with taxes etc. But when poor people do the same they are met with absolute hellfire from those above them. When the penalty for breaking a law is a fine, that law is meant for poor people. Politicians not following their own COVID guidelines. It has become rules for thee, but not for me. Always has been. Abusive behavior is funny when coming from a woman. I pointed out to my husband that in movies and TV shows, women get upset by a man's actions and slap him and no one bats an eye. I'm an older woman who grew up with a violent mother and I know firsthand the scars that remain from those acts of abuse. Over the years I've heard too many horror stories from male friends and in forums where they describe horrific physical, verbal, and emotional abuse from their female partners. Showing a woman hitting a man normalizes this cruelty, and it needs to stop. Why do men get pockets big enough to hold all their shit and women get fake pockets sewn shut or a fucking micro pocket? Is it too much to ask that I don't have to carry around a satchel like a peasant? My wife has me carry her stuff. I'm like a walking handbag. Ah yes, the man bag. I'm single so don't have that glorious upgrade available sadly. Banks/businesses can immediately withdraw money from your bank account and apply all their disgusting fees. But for banks/businesses to give you money, you have to wait 7 to 10 business days for the funds to appear. Pedophile teachers. When it's a man, you tend to see male teacher raped student, and when they're women it's normally female teacher had sex with student. I despise the downplaying of it when the teacher is a woman, and seeing comments like that kid should be lucky, his teacher is hot disgusts me. If a woman sleeps with hundreds of men, she's a slut. But if I do it, I'm gay. IKEA nobody calls you a chef if you cook a meal, but suck a dick and suddenly you're gay. If I wake up at 4 p.m. from the heavens doing God's work. A stranger actually said that to me. Or hearing the "or is it dad's day to babysit?" Fuck you Karen, I'm the stay-at-home parent and it's not babysitting when they're my fucking kids. Mr. Mom came out in 1983 and I still can't get a break about it.